to share something with you. That might put me in a very negative light, yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife or something completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from here, and this has been like a therapy session.
Hello and welcome to Raw, the Fight Within. Delighted to be joined by my long-term friend, Mr. Johnny Nelson, who's kindly agreed to donate his
Don't even
purse.
say it.
What?
Yeah, the fee you're
The
paying
fee
me.
to the KUGAN CASSIUS
Yeah, it's
Foundation.
It's true that. All 52 pence of it.
52 pence?
Yeah.
Can't really buy anything for 52 pence anymore, can you?
It used to be 10 pence in the hedges back in the day when I was at school.
Oh, wow.
I used to sell them 10 pence a piece.
Did you
I'd
really?
make a pound
We'll
at the
come
end of the
into
day.
that. Don't
Sorry,
like,
mate.
spoil it now. Johnny, thank you for coming on Raw, the Fight Within. You were a bit offended because I hadn't asked you previously.
Well, I'd actually seen it and I thought, Coogie, you've done it again. I saw your show with Eddie. I thought it was brilliant. I think it's a great concept. I think you've got the platform to do it, and you just have that relationship with almost everybody to be able to to get an honest and direct convo out of it. So it's either that they're not threatened by you,
What are you trying to say?
or they respect you. And so let's go for the latter.
Okay, I'll take that. Right, let's ease you in nice and easy. Your first ever memories of boxing, what were they?
My first was probably my introduction through my brother. My elder brother used to box. He was my hero. Followed him everywhere. So cool, proper cool guy. And he started boxing. I actually had no interest in it at all. I just followed my brother around, and so my first introduction was him. I knew of Ali, and I knew my dad fought Sonny Liston. I always loved Sonny Liston over Ali back in the day. But then my brother was that inspiration from the off. The only reason I went to the gym was just to hang about with my brother.
Do you remember the first ever fight you went to, ever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hated it. The downside of going to the boxing club to make friends was boxing. I didn't want to box. I just went to make friends. And my brother, because we've got different fathers, our second names are different. We look nothing like each other. He's light skinned, he looks like a white guy with an afro. So you'd have no idea we were related. But then I made a smaller circle of friends within the gym, and these men are talking about going to the show and knocking people out, and I'm on the bus thinking, God, I don't want to do this. And but that was the downside. If I wanted to carry on going to the gym, I had to box, and I was fronting it out. I never told Brendan I never wanted to box. I think I was probably brainwashed into boxing, but that's the only reason why. I was a proper mummy's boy.
Who was the first fighter? I mean, I can probably guess a couple of these names here, but who was the first fighter that you actually started to watch that kind of almost made you fall in love with boxing? Like, what was it about him? Who was that, and what was it about them?
Michael Nunn. You thought I was going to say Muhammad Ali. Michael Nunn. Michael's second to none. He was with the Goosens, and super middleweight, southpaw, proper badass fighter. And I used to put his fights on and watch him over and over and over again. And I'd fall asleep to it on thinking, when you've got that kid got his book and he's like hoping it all sinks into his head subconsciously while he's sleeping. Michael Nunn, he was the one I watched. Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns, that fight over and over again. I just thought, if I keep watching it, then I'll be as good as them. And that Michael Nunn, then Ali, of course. And then you start to spread your knowledge and look at other fighters.
I always find this next question quite interesting to ask people, and some people can't really answer it because of their long-term association and involvement in boxing. But do you ever think about if you weren't in boxing, what you'd be sat here doing now? You definitely wouldn't be sitting here talking to me. No. I wouldn't even know you.
If I didn't box, there was two ways I was going to go. I was always a good talker. Well, eventually, after being in the gym. And I went for a job interview as a sales rep to sell like vitamins and sporting sporting goods. And it was a 3-piece interview. And if you got the first interview was the introduction. The second interview, they thought, all right, something about this. If you got invited to the third interview, you had the job. They were going to offer you a contract. Did the first interview, did the second interview. And so they invited me back to Birmingham from Sheffield for a third interview, which meant I've got the job. But basically, company car, starting off on 25 bags a year. Back then.
Back then?
Yeah. And I'd read somewhere that 8% of the highest earners in Europe are salesmen. And so I thought, I've got a job. Now, at this time, I was working at Wimpy, fast food joint, Next, and Wade Smith. It was a trainer shop. I had 3 part-time jobs to fit around the boxing, and I was no good at boxing. And I was a bit of a hustler, just all over, just hustling, just not an illegal hustler. I was a lovable rogue. And I knew I got a job now. And I thought, if I go for this, that means I've got a job. It means I can't box. This time now, I've had 13 amateur fights. I've only won 3. I've lost. I'm on a losing streak. I'm probably in my 4th professional fight. I've only won 1. But I thought, if I take a job, it means I can't train. I can't go to the gym. And I didn't turn up. And I kicked myself thinking, idiot. Why don't you turn up? Even years later, I think, God, if only. Why don't you? What else would you be doing? You might have been like a top salesman doing whatever, earning mad money. And when I tell people that, they like laugh and think, but look at what you've done. I think we've all got a path in life, and some of us know it the second we come out of our mother's womb. Some of us fall on it. Some of us are forced onto it. I think I was forced onto it. I think the path I'm on is a path set for me.
Do you know, just going back to when you used to work at Wimpy, did they, obviously I'm assuming they made you dress like Mr. Wimpy?
Yes, they did.
Well, did you have to do that?
Yes.
Like the burger, was it a burger outfit?
Yes, I did, Mr. Wimpy. It was the Wimpy I worked on, there's a place, a precinct in Sheffield called Fargate. And on the Saturday, all the boys would go up there, get the ghetto blasters, dropping the music, everybody like roller skates, body popping, all that sort of stuff on top of the precinct. Now, I've got a job at Wimpy, about 4 or 5 shops down. I never wanted to work on a Saturday. And so when it was my Saturday to work, I dreaded it because I knew them man had come inside Wimpy. So I can say it now because I don't work there. They'd come in, buy fries, and I'd give them like quarter pounder with cheese, fries, chicken burgers. They'd walk out after buying like fries for, I don't know, 50 pence. They'd walk out with about 5 quid worth of food. And it was just hard because I could see them all outside having a good time, and I'm working. And then they'd have kids' parties. And so it was my turn on a Saturday to do a kids' party. Now, I dreaded it because Mr. Wimpy sometimes had to go out on Fargate on the precinct and hand leaflets out to everybody coming by, then do the kids' party. So I got out of going on to Fargate to do the kids' party because me, like all the guys on the precinct, we used to kick Mr. Wimpy when we saw him on the precinct. So I thought, them man are going to kick me, and they won't be sure if it's me or not. And so I'm like, we used to proper give him a hard time, Mr. Wimpy. So I had to do this kids' party. We're upstairs doing the kids' party. I'm doing ring a roll. One of the kids pulled my glove off and saw my big black hand pop out. Oh my God, Mr. Wimpy's black! Mr. Wimpy's black! All the kids start. One screams. They're all screaming. And I'm like, and so they all run downstairs.
Are you in full costume?
I'm in full costume. It's like you're in a big envelope. So you can't take the head off. The whole body comes off. And you got the tights on, the big Mr. Wimpy shoes. So I'm running after him, trying to stop him from going outside. Because if you go outside and shout Mr. Wimpy's black, they know it's me. I'm the only black guy that works there. So you've got a one glove Mr. Wimpy with a black hand chasing these kids to try and pull them back inside. They run outside, Mr. Wimpy's black, Mr. Wimpy's black. I got out of this suit quick, took it off, I'm sweating cobs, went back down behind the till. And my mate Willie was on Fargate. And he came in and went, have you just been Mr. Wimpy? Oh, no, man, they're being stupid. But they used to give me so much stick. But I think I had a work ethic. I wasn't good at school. I had my reading, terrible. I read like a 10-year-old. Writing, terrible. Mummy's boy, as I said, spoke to adults. I wasn't very good. And then, so when I left school, I can remember there's that period where you can't sign on because you're too young. So you're skint, you've got no money. They walked me out of school. I didn't do any exams. I was walked out of school at the age of just turned 15. And I went to London. I went down to London because one of my brothers lived down there. I worked in Brixton Market selling umbrellas for £1 there, and on the Battersea Clock Tower, I think it is, selling £1 umbrellas. First time I saw Frank Bruno then, driving in a red Escort. So I stayed in London for a year, went back to Sheffield, and I signed on. I walked down to the place. I don't know if kids know what signing on now is, to get a gyro or whatever you call it these days. And I was queuing up for my money, and I'm like thinking, I felt ashamed. I thought, I'm never doing this again. I'm not doing it. So I signed on, got my gyro. I'm walking back, feeling sorry for myself, and there was a Suzuki garage on the way to walking home. When I walked to the door of the garage, and they had those Suzuki Vitara Jeeps with no top on. And I'm looking, I used to love them.
I remember them.
Yeah, I used to love them. And I'm stood there looking in the window. I thought, let me go inside and have a look. I went to walk inside the showroom. The man that came to the door and said, where you going, mate? I said, I'm just having a look. He said, you can't afford anything here, son. And he didn't even move to the side. I just say, you're not coming in. And all right, and walked on. I'm walking thinking, you bastard. You know, one day.
Did you feel like Pretty Woman?
Yeah. I thought, one day, you just wait, one day. And I used to see Range Rovers drive past and think, I wonder what you've got to do to have a car like that. I'd just be people watching them, and think, what do you do to have that, be able to afford a car like that? That's why it's my favourite car now. I got home, I said to my mum, I'm never signing on again. She said, what are you going to do for money? I said, anything. I will never do it. I've had one gyro in my life from leaving school. And I said, I will never do that again. Because I just thought, and she kind of understood, but we were poor growing up. We had nothing. So she kind of understood where I was coming from, but she also understood that you need to live. You need to either get a job, do something with yourself, or go and sign on. I said, I won't do it. I just said, refuse to do it. So that's why I did little jobs like working at Wimpy, working at Next clothes store. I had 3 jobs, about from one to the other, and then fit the gym in around it. But that was me. That's like, I've always been that way.
Do you remember like the first ever time you got into like a serious fight as a kid, or like an altercation, something that sticks into your mind?
I had one fight I can remember at school.
Hold on. Let me ask that again.
Yeah.
Johnny, do you remember the first time you ever got into like a serious altercation as a kid, or like a serious argument, something that sticks out in your brain?
I had one fight I can remember at school, and his name was Russell Brennan, pretty boy at school. He lived in a pub, so he was a bit more mature than the rest of us. Always had money in his pocket. I think he was robbing off his parents. God, if he sees this, I've grassed him up. He was robbing off his parents because he'd come to school with a wad of £10 notes. And like, first time I'd ever seen a £50 note. And he'd have it at school. And and all the girls loved Russell. And I had a friend called Kenny Furness. And Russell was a bit of a bully, but he never really focused that on me. We were kind of friends at school. And there was a girl called Therese Kay. And everybody fancied her. And Russell, I think me and Therese were friends. And Therese were friends. And Russell was a bit jealous of that. So he turned his attention on me, like picking on me, calling me monkey and shit like that. There's only about probably 8 kids of colour in our school. And my friend Kenny, white guy. And I'm like, it grabbed me, man. I just struggled to just like turn a blind eye to that when people are using that as even as a joke, as a friendly banter. And so the salesman in me, or the hustler in me, I'd give him shit back. So I said, you know what? We're going to fight in the woods. Let's do it in the woods. He went, you what? Because Russell was more mature. So we're going down to the woods to fight at dinner time. And everybody knew Russell Brennan's fighting Johnny. I was Johnny Smith at school. That's another story. Johnny Smith. Russell Brennan's going to fight Johnny Smith. I was popular with the girls. I didn't have girlfriends, but I was like that friend. I was friend zoned, and went down to the woods, and I'm like, Kenny, yo, listen, you do the time, and we'll make it rounds. So I said to Russell, just to intimidate him in front of everyone in class, I said, I want you to bring all your friends, bring all the girls, make sure everybody's there. And he's like, Russell's now thinking, shit, this man fancies it here. And I'm telling everyone me and Russell are fighting. So now Russell's thinking he's too confident here, because I'm telling everybody, in my head I'm thinking, he's going to batter me. But I've got to try and do his head in. So even from then at school, I used to play that silly game. And went down to the woods. Russell, he had man strength. Boom, straight on me. He's punching me in the face, and I'm covering my face. Next minute, time! Kenny, my mate, doing time. Time! And round one. And Russell got off. He got off. Then round two, I run into Russell, bah, 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 in the woods. Everybody's there screaming and shouting. And then we had all of each other. We're trying to strangle each other. He said, do you give up? I said, you give up. Yeah, all right, we give up. Then it was a class as a draw. And then all of his mates that were joining in with him, calling me monkey and calling me all his names. Me and Kenny weren't in our school, picking them off one at a time, slapping them up and just giving them a hard time, because they all got brave now, because Russell Brennan, Mr. Handsome, he'd been turned over and he wouldn't protect him. But that is my only altercation in school, the only one.
Fucking hell.
There's a bottle of water in that cooler.
Fuck. Right. Sorry. So that was your only one.
Yeah.
So obviously that's the one that. Yeah, but it probably kind of shaped a little bit your kind of those years for you as well.
Yeah, because even though I was scared, I did it. I was scared. You know, and like Russell, I'm like thinking, we're the same age, and you're like, but you know what I realised then? Now I realise now, looking back on it, that we all have the same fear. It's how we deal with it. And I'm quite sure Russell I wasn't scared, I was nervous. But I actually thought I was scared. Whenever I was nervous, I thought it was fear. So I thought I had no bottle. I thought I couldn't fight, and I always mistook nerves for fear. And that was always my problem. Even fighting in the early years, I always thought I was scared. I wasn't like everybody else.
Talk to me about a time that you felt that you were losing. Sorry, ask that again. Talk to me about a time that you felt that you were fighting a losing battle in your life.
That came when I boxed Carlos de Leon in Sheffield. And I still, in my head, thought I was scared. I'd done everything. I'd won a British title. I'd like, so far at that stage, I'd done everything. Got a crack for the world title. Barry Hearn I was signed with Barry. He was my promoter. Nice guy, Barry. So you think Eddie's a bad man now. Barry was like the Don then. And years ahead of his time. And he gave me the opportunity to fight for the WBC title in Sheffield. And I'm always grateful to that, I must admit. But I knew I was a boy in a man's body. To me, that was the day of reckoning. To me, that was the day I was getting exposed. I was absolutely bottling it. Because I used to think upside down. I didn't think I was good. I'd won a British title. I didn't think I was good. I thought they were bad. The fights I'd won, I just thought, nah, they're not very good. So now I'm in with Carlos de Leon for Puerto Rico. Carlos he fought Evander Holyfield and people like that. And I think that was his only loss. I'm not sure up to that point. But he was old. I should have had that fight. And it was my opportunity. And I bottled it. I can remember getting to City Hall, looking outside, looking through the curtains, and it was packed out in Sheffield. There was like Frank Bruno was there, Michael Watson was there, Linda Lusardi was there. And I'm like, cast of Coronation Street with them. I'm like, oh my God, proper bottled it. So I knew I'd gone. My head was done in, I'd gone. And Brendan was doing everything, screaming at me, talking to me nice, being cool with me. I'd gone. I just thought, I'm going to get knocked out and shamed up in front of these people. And I actually didn't even want the beating. I ran, I held, I was negative, they booed. I actually dreamt about the result before the fight, and I told Brendan, and he couldn't make sense of it, because the result was they had my hand up, but he was smiling. And there was a guy in a pinstripe suit with a curly hair, white guy, curly afro hair, sticking two fingers up. That was my dream vision. And I told Brendan, I thought, why am I smiling then? No, why is he smiling if he's got my hand up? Consequently, in the dream, it was a draw, so he kept his title, so he's smiling. They've got my hand up as well. And I looked into the crowd on the stage. There's a guy, pinstripe suit, curly hair, wanker shit, because they're abused. Screams right. If you try and find that fight, God forbid, on YouTube, I've never watched it past 3 rounds, because I want to reach into the screen and slap the face of me, because I knew how my head was thinking. I knew what I was thinking. I thought, come on, Johnny, wake up. Wake up. I knew. And so it was a draw, but I saw the good and bad of human nature. Before that, the headlines on the front of the boxing news, go Johnny go, or something like that. We'd always want to get on boxing news. That's what all fighters wanted to do. I was on the front page, and I was in the newspaper and everything. We were talking about it. So when you wish for fame, or when you wish for people to know who you are, you got to be careful what you wish for, because you might know who you are for the wrong things. And I was known for being a coward, being boring, being useless. And Brendan gave me the name Johnny the Entertainer. I hated it from day one, because it's like saying, I'm a comedian. Go on, make me laugh. I'm not a comedian. So, but Brendan, that was the hardest period and the lowest time. And I thought, I shouldn't be doing this. Because I just found the good and bad of human nature. People were so cruel. And I realised, when you see something in the newspaper about somebody, it's somebody's mother, brother, someone's mother, brother, sister, father, whatever. And if they're taking the piss out of them and they're abusing them, it hurts somebody. And I was a butt of that, and I hated it. I think the best joke was some guy was in a coma for 10 years, and he put the Johnny Nelson Carlos de Leon fight on, and he woke up to turn the TV off to go back to sleep. You know, that was the joke in the newspaper. I'm like, a little cartoon John. I thought, bastards. But that was the point where I was low. And I mean, people mock me. You know, people call you a wanker or toss it to your face. It's all right them doing it behind your back, but to your face, it means they've got no respect for you. They've no fear for you. They just think, what are you going to do about it? Whereas before, they were all over me. In Sheffield anyway. And that was the lowest time. And that's when I had to decide where I was going with my life. But that was, now looking back on it, was the best thing that could have happened to me.
What are the everyday battles in your life away from boxing?
I like stability. I love family. And that's what I try. And always, no matter what, me and my wife is split up. I've got 3 daughters. I knew when I was younger, I loved family. There was like Brenton Taslim, the oldest one, different dad. Jeff, his dad, different dad. Alan Brinton, different dad. Teresa, different dad. Me, different dad. And Oliver, different dad. But we all lived in the same house. We were family. We're family. I don't say my half brother and sister. We were all family. And my mum grafted. She was a proper worker. We were skin. And I always remember that. I loved being at home. Mum would say, do you want to go to school today? I'd say, no. She didn't make me go to school. I could go or not go. And I can remember growing up and everybody disappearing one at a time, moving to London. Taslim moved to London. Jeff already lived I think he was in New York at the time. Brenton moved, Alan moved, even Oliver, my younger brother, moved. So there's only me and my sister left in Sheffield. And I found it inside, it made me feel unsettled. Mum and Dad split up. And it made me feel unsettled. And I thought, when I get older, no matter what, I'm going to make sure my kids don't know about debt. you know, about the worries about paying the light bill or somebody knocking on the insurance man, Paget's coming to the door for insurance money, and you're hiding. I want my kids to enjoy being kids. But I used to hear all that when we didn't have money to pay the light bill. I used to hear where, I used to hear mum and dad arguing about not having money to pay bills. And so in my head I thought, when I get older, my kids, I'm going to let them enjoy being kids. I'm going to make sure they know I'm always there, no matter where I am in the world. I'm going to make sure my home is their home, no matter how old they are. And now, even now, you know, I live in my house, the kids live in their house. But they still come round to my house like it's Morrison's. They'll just walk in the cupboard. I still cook like I'm cooking for a few people. And so every day you can walk in my house, take up some food out of the pot to eat some food. And if nobody comes in, I'll put it in the fridge. So I know my kids know, no matter what, my home is their home. Until they're 50, 60 years old, until I die. So I think stability, family stability, I'm not bothered about. Money's not my God. As long as I've got a roof over my head and I can pay my bills, I'm good. I'm all right. And I try and put that into the girls as well. As long as you're happy, I'm good. I didn't make mad money out of boxing. I love my job, you know, doing what I'm doing. I'm talking about something that I know about, I know inside out. I'm good with people. So my biggest battle in life is just making sure I create stability for my family and for me. I think once I'd created stability for myself, my career elevated.
Tell me about a time that you felt that you were having to fight back tears.
Wow. Here's a few of them. I'd say the first one was a time around... Fucker, just wait a bit.
You alright?
Wait a bit.
It's all right.
Yeah, go again.
You good?
Yeah.
Sure?
Yeah.
Right.
You asked me that question. It's just... I don't deal with grief great. So obviously my first one was losing Brendan. Second one was losing my mum. We're coming up to our anniversary now, so...
Do you want to stop this?
Yeah, stop.
Let's stop. Yeah.
So you asked me, first time I had to hold back, well, tears of grief. I don't deal with grief very good. I think the first one, obviously losing Brendan, bad, devastating, killed me. And then losing my mum. So our anniversary, first year of her passing this year, coming up close, which is why we've had to cut a couple of times. So I think as an adult, I think grief hurts, but grief kills you as an adult, man. It kills you because you've got adult reasoning, understanding, thinking, emotions. And it's that bounce back ability. So I am a bit of a pussy sometimes, but I struggle before to speak about Brendan. I struggle to speak about my mum, but it's something that everybody's gonna have to go through it at some point. So you've got to try and rationalise it in your head and deal with it somehow. But it's just, that's part of life. It's part of life. My kids will probably have to go through it. And their kids will probably have to go through it. But it's part of life. It's just how you deal with it.
It's like when you're in your 20s, even in your 30s, you don't really contemplate that happening with your parents or whoever. So you get older and you see them getting older.
And when I was younger, I used to wish I'd be dead by the time I was 50. Because I'm crazy. And then as I got older, I thought, hold on a minute. If I die, that means Mum's heart's going to be broken. Oh, sorry, God, I didn't mean it. My Mum died first. Oh, shit. No, God, sorry, I didn't mean... Because, and so I'd see my parents getting older. I'd see Brendan getting older. You saw the deterioration. You saw the difference of them. My mum came over this country. She was over to this country in 1959. She was 29 years old, I think, by herself. She fought tooth and nails. The stick she got for all the different kids, all the kids she got to different baby fathers, but she was our mum. We are brothers and sisters. We are family. And she took a lot of stick, a lot of shit. And so my mum went through a tough life. At the time when Jack the Ripper was running rampage around the UK, my mum had to get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock to walk to the hospital to be a domestic, an auxiliary nurse, a cleaner basically. And we were with worry. My mum grafted. So when it was her time, you know, her mother lived till she was 108. Her grandmother lived till she was 116. My mum came to my house and passed away in my house. It's hard. It's hard, and I don't wish it on my worst enemy. But I know all my friends at the time. Straight away, I know what they're thinking. They're going to think, God, that's going to happen to me and my mum soon. Because it happened to me with my friend when his mum died 2 years on Christmas Day. But it's. I'm not good with it. I'm not good with it. I think to be a fighter, especially when you're looking within yourself, you learn to put things into a compartment and keep them in that compartment so you can deal with other things. And that is a habit I've got, a habit I do. That's what I do. So I put things into a compartment, and once I open that compartment and start to really think about it, then it all comes out. So that's why. So when you drop that on me, I'm thinking, shit, I wasn't ready for that. I'm not ashamed of it. That's just me. That's how I deal with it. Some people are really tough. Some people, I ain't that guy. I'm human like everybody else. Which is why he said you don't want to do this. No, we'll do it. We're cool. Because I want other people to see. You know what? I'd probably be. I want them to understand it. But yeah, to deal with grief, it's heavy, man. So I used to be a proper crybaby when I was a kid. And my brothers and my sister, they used to take the piss. Like, how are you a boxer? You know, my sister used to batter me. So, and they find it, even now, they find it funny that me, little Johnny Smith from school, ended up being a boxer. Even back to the Smith bit, my sister was called Smith because that was her dad's name. So that when she went to school, she was on the register as Smith. I was, and so they automatically assumed I was a Smith. And so when we go home to say to Mum, they're asking why we've all got different names. Mum would say, tell them to come and speak to me. None of their bloody business. So it wasn't until I kind of left school that I started using Nelson. On my birth certificate, it's Nelson, but everybody who knew me from school as Johnny Smith. You didn't know that, did you?
That part I didn't. 'Cause I know you got a few names. Excuse me. Do you ever feel like you're having to or had fought demons in your life? If so, what are they? Or what were they?
Self-confidence, massively. And I mean, trust me, you know when you can't read great, you can't write great, you think you're the only thick one in the world. I might have had dyslexia. So a couple of people said, well, that's probably what you've got. You know, because sometimes I read things and they're like, don't look right. And I say something else that's not actually there. I've never actually properly looked into it, but a few people said, it sounds like that's the situation. And so I didn't quite get it. I didn't quite get why everybody else got it, why everybody else had seen something. I just look at things differently. And looking at things differently, I was probably just not in the same mindset as everybody else. I always thought I was the thicket on the bike. I just look at things differently. I look at a subject, and you might look at this behind me. You think, that's a small piece of wood. I'll be thinking, why did they put that wood there? Or I just look, my view of things are very different from other people. So it's like, I suppose it's the job I do. You know, we'll be watching a fight, I'll be looking at other things, I'll be looking at the fighter standing on man's foot, where you're looking, thinking, oh, he's done this, he's done that. The little silly things, that's what, the little devil in the detail is what I'm looking at, instead of paying attention.
Is that why you come out with some really crazy predictions?
Yeah. That's probably...
That actually makes sense now. You're actually saying that. After 12 years of knowing you, all the stupid shit you come out with on TV.
Yeah, but
now I know why you do it.
So I always thought I was the dummy. And so having that, and then having that kind of chip on my shoulder and trying to bullshit my way through, not being able to read very well as to an adult and getting exposed at certain times, and it's embarrassing. I didn't think I had dyslexia. I just thought I'm thick, but I'm good with people. I'm good with I'm good in human situations. My education started when I left school and met Brendan. A school could never have taught me what that man taught me. And so I realised I'm not thick. I realised I just look at things differently.
I'm sure a lot of people, especially like at that sort of time, I'm not outing your age here for this,
Yeah.
I'm just saying there's a lot of things that are diagnosed now and labelled as stuff I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Back then, how big dyslexia was, whether it was even diagnosed then, I don't know. I'm not talking like ill-educated. I just generally don't know. But
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. When I explain, I'd read something, and then whoever I'm sat next to will be like, "What are you looking at?" And I'm like, "Where's it said that?" And then so many people said, "You've got dyslexia. You need to check that out." And I'm like, "But what can I do about it? I'm still going to be, no matter even go and check it out, I'm still going to see the same thing." So I just learned to get round it, learn to hustle it, and that's what I'm saying. At school, I didn't, because I thought I was thick, I just bullshitted my way through school. I ended up actually going back to college. I was about 24, 25, because I thought, I'm going to have to get a job here because my boxing career ain't going great. I was still getting this backlash in the stick from the De Leon fight. I'd lost to James Wayne for the IBF title. I thought, you're not a boxer, Johnny. You need to get a job. I sat in class as like a 25-year-old next to 16-year-olds that have left school to go to college to do English and maths. And I eventually got like an access course version of an A-level English. I think I eventually got a C grade maths to get into uni, and I thought, how the fuck have I done that? I'm good with words. I'm good with English grammar, but I'm not great at spelling. My writing's terrible. Got into uni, so now I've got the equivalent of 2 A levels to get into uni, which you needed. Went to uni to do a bit sports management course at university. I did the first year. And again, it felt like being at school. I just thought, I just feel as though everybody's like on it and I'm not. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then I got a job fighting in South Africa. And it was midterm, and I'm like thinking, you know what, I'm gonna take this year off and then pick it up in a year's time. Never went back. So I did the first year, never went back. Then went back to uni.
have you ever had to fight depression in your life?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think first of all was the first one when the De Leon fight, and it was because I was as a mummy's boy. I just looked at the life differently, and so when people were being horrible to me, it really hurt. And I mean everybody. So if I call you a tosser, a wanker, whatever, you'll think, all right. If everybody's calling it here, everybody, you get paranoid when people look at you thinking he thinks I'm this, that, and the other. And I just went into my shell. I went into my home. I was at home, and the only places I went was my house, the boxing club, because people were just...
Did you know it was depression then when you were going through
Nah,
it?
not at all. Not at all. And if I'm honest with you, at that time, I actually thought an easier way out was topping myself. And the only reason why I didn't is because I didn't have the bottle. I thought, how can I do it? That's what I thought. And
You those times you were talking about,
Yeah.
that's what...
yeah,
But you, in your head, because I've heard this from a few people, they have that feeling of what you just said there, but they're very honest and saying that, do you know what, I actually haven't got to bottle to actually...
yeah,
go
and that's what I'm
through
saying.
with it.
People that do it must be properly screwed in the head to have the bottle to do it. It's so brave to do it, and I'm not encouraging it. Trust me, it don't mean you're anybody. It means you just chosen a way out instead of having to deal with it. Because you got to be brave to do that. And I ain't got the bottle. I just didn't have the bottle. I thought it's gonna hurt, and so I thought you got to tough this out, Johnny boy. And it wasn't easy. I was fortunate enough to have Brendan. And with me having Brendan, he dealt with things in such an unorthodox way. And I didn't realise he was dealing with it until I looked back at how he dealt with it. And it was a lesson learned massively. And like when the penny dropped, and when I found my strength back, and it's not a day and night thing. You know, we're talking. I boxed the Leon 999. I boxed James Waring. I thought I was all good. Someone shouted in the ring, "Remember the De Leon fight!" In the fight, I just boom, clammed up straight away. I was back in that dark spot again, but I'm out in the middle of a ring in a fight. Done. I might as well have just gone home. Might as well just took my gloves off. It took me about 5 years to get over it. 5 years to get my head round and be strong and have rhino skin. To think, I don't care what you say, dude. There's nothing you can tell me that upsets me. I know now, in my job I'm in, many things have been said, Nelson, this, that, and the other. There is nothing, no man or woman on this earth that can say something to me that will break me. And I know that because I've been there. I've been there. You can't upset me. You can say whatever you want. You can call me whatever you want. You can't upset me because I know who I am. I don't need validation from nobody. I don't need anybody to tell me I'm good. Anybody to tell me I'm special. Anybody. I know what I can do. I know I'm special. And once I became world champion, I honestly and truly believed I was the best fighter in the world. And it doesn't matter what anybody says. That's what I honestly and truly believed. I thought, giving me the chance to fight for these other titles, I'll get it. So even when I'm asked, do you think you'd have beaten Usyk? I feel no way in saying, yeah, I would have done. And everybody's like, oh, who the fuck's Nelson think he is? And I'm like, I don't care what you think. I know what I'm capable of doing. I know what... So when people try and abuse, accuse, point a finger, trust me, mate, I'm too strong for that. I'm too strong. It's like, I don't do drugs. You know, I've had a drink. I'm a bit of a weakling when it comes to drinking. I'm a strong character. I'm probably not the easiest of boyfriends. I probably wouldn't have been. Probably wasn't the easiest of a husband. But some people might call it stubborn. But I've been through too much in my life to let anybody break me. I mean, in that way.
Fuck. God. Right. Where does your fight spirit come from? Where does that stem from, you as a person?
My fighting spirit, I think, stems from my mum, her mum, and her mum. My fighting spirit stems from that chip on the shoulder where I've just got a bit of a stubbornness. I'm not a fighter, I'm just a bit stubborn. And I stuck with boxing because it was all I had. And then it got to a point where I realised I've actually achieved something. You're actually qualified in doing something. You can do this. That's what you've given your life to. So I believe I've done everything right, so I expect success. To be a fighter, I know I could be getting the life kicked out of me, and I still try and fight back. Because I've been on the other side when I've tried to grab, I've tried to hold, I've tried to run, I've tried to cower away. And so I've done that. I've been there. And so now I think, no, it's not going to happen to me, because I understand what failure and success is. I know how much of a thin line it is. And so at the time, I think about what I said now as an adult. And at the time, I think when I boxed, I said, I'm willing to die in the ring. That was going into the ring against Carl Thompson for the world title, because I knew I'd done everything. And I truly believed I was going to die before I came out there a loser. And every time I boxed, the second I won the world title, I said, I'll be dead before I lose this title. And because that's how sure I was of who I am. And because I look at the journey of my mum to this country, how courageous it was for her to leave Jamaica, get on a boat for 6 weeks, whatever it was, to come to England by herself, to start a home, start a new life. The intention was to come to the UK for 5 years, make some money, send it back to her family. Eventually, she ended up. This was a home, and I think, can you imagine at 29 years old, one of us lot doing that now. My kids thinking, I'm going to get on a boat, Dad, and go and travel for 6 weeks to go and live over there and set up a home. Don't know nobody there. Ain't got a house to walk to. Ain't got nowhere to go to. And I'm thinking, if my mum's got that kind of courage, what are you talking about, Johnny? What are you doing? And there's a saying in our family, in our household: stop your foolishness. Your foolishness is just worrying about the silly things that we make a big deal of that are not life-threatening. And I had to have a word with myself because I kept failing, kept falling, kept doubting. And I thought, I gave myself no reason to fail. I trained right, prepared right, I thought right, I've done my homework. I gave myself no reason not to succeed. So, and if I cheated in training, if I'd missed something out, then I'd give myself a reason. That's why I train so hard.
You fight for your family, your kids, country, people. Just you fight for whoever you fight for. Who fights for you? Who's in your corner, rain or shine?
I'm quite sure my family are, but I always think I've got to be a provider. I always think, you can't help me, I can help you. That's what I'm here for. That's the responsibility I took on. When I got married for life. Me and my wife are still friends, even though we split up. So our kids are our kids. That's my family. I look at her like, it sounds a bit weird, like a sister or something like that. I've got a sister, I've got my brothers. And even if we don't see each other much, I fight for my family. I'd love to be in a position where I could take care of them all. I don't care. Listen, as long as I can get from A to B, I don't care. I'm all right. I'm good. I had Brendan. I had the wisdom of Brendan. And Brendan, to me, I feel that if anything, if you're not a spiritual person or not, I think God put me in a situation where I lived in the same city as Brendan. I have never met anybody like him, and I won't meet anybody like him again. I learned so much from that guy, and he wasn't just a coach. He was a proper good man. You hear that phrase so many times. I knew this man. This man let me into his home. He let me, and you hear it many times with fighters and their coaches, like I looked at him like a father figure. Brendan was my education. He was my mentor. He was my friend that did selfless acts for me at times, but people don't know about. He stuck by me when everybody was abusing him and what he was working on and all the work he'd put into Sheffield. He still stuck by me because he said, come on, come out of the gym. But he didn't. So I was fortunate enough to to meet Brendan.
Jesus. Right. Is it more difficult to fight physically, as in your actions, or fight mentally, as in your mind?
Mentally. To me, I think once the mental side of me was strong, the physical side followed. You can have an amazing physique, fitness, and everything. If your head's not right, it don't matter what you do, you're not in it. And so to me, I've always worked on that, and I get that. And we might all have those little dark corners in our head that we just don't want to go to. But I feel as though mentally, I can be so strong, focused, single-minded. I can be when I have to be. I don't think I can. I know I can. Because I've been there. I've been in situations where I've been away as a sparring partner, and it's been horrible. It's been the worst place. I've been on the border of like Poland and a place called Frankfurt Oder. 6 weeks, only black guy there. Couldn't walk in the streets because they'd chase me. I'm there for 6 weeks. Nobody's talking to me. All I've got is the army radio to listen to. I did that for 3 years, kept going back and forth because I wanted to get myself mentally strong. People don't work on the mental strength; they work on the physical strength. But people don't know how to work on mental strength.
Yeah,
They
I think
think
that's more sort of
Yeah,
people
people-
don't know how to do it.
yeah, they don't know how to do it. What they do is they'll listen to some mantra or they'll listen to X, Y, Z. To work on you, you've got to listen to you. You can't distract you with outside interference because when you close your eyes, only you know what's going on. So you've got to learn yourself to deal with the boredom. You've got it's like having a little ping pong ball in your head, settling in happiness, sadness, madness, darkness, and you've got to learn to deal with all those bored, frustrating moments. Because if you don't, if it catches you by surprise, you're depressed. You're thinking, "Oh my God," because I just can't get my mind out of thinking this. You've got to learn to deal with every emotion that is up there. You've got to make a choice for you and you stop looking for someone else to do it for you. Whereas if you know something that's going to set you off and make you go down a path of negativity, you're going to be pissed off all day. And you've done it once, you've done it twice, you've done it 3 times. Why are you going to go there again? Just think, you know what? I'm not going to go down there because I know what it's like. And it's easy to think negatively. It's easy to put yourself down there. Everybody can do it. Everybody does it. But you just think, well, I know what's down there. He's going to put me in a bad place. So I'm just not going there. That's it. That's how you think. That's how I think. I'm great company. Right? At home, my kids will phone up, "Dad, turn the music down." I got music playing in my house, nice and warm. I'm walking about my socks and my underpants. And like, I don't need anybody to make me happy. So everything else outside me is a bonus. You know, I'm good company. And actually, at the moment, we've got Christmas coming up. I don't know when this is coming out. I bought myself a black elf. I call him Errol. So
What? Sorry.
and I keep putting him in places around the house. And I walk in the room, I'll just chuckle to myself. And so when people come in the house, they'll say, "What's that?" I went, "That's Errol." And they're looking. I'm just having a bit of laugh, a bit of a banter with myself. And I'll put me in the bag. I just do little things to tickle myself. And so when people come in that vibe, my house is a good energy. It's a good vibe. It's a good place to be. And so people you gravitate to come to where I am because you think it's just a good energy in here. And that's what I like to be around. I try and avoid the negativity of other people. And that's easy to say, and it all sounds all new age, whatever, but you've got to think to yourself, this is me I'm dealing with. I've got to deal with I'm not looking to blame anybody else for my happiness and my sadness. My responsibility is to make sure I'm happy, content in my life. Then I can pass that on to others. And which I hope I do.
Last one. Answer it as, or you can interpret it as whichever way you please. And I mean this from a complete non-boxing sense. What drives that fight within you? What drives it?
The fear of being poor again. My home life, as a youngster growing up, we were poor. And when people see this, when you read about people being poor, you don't know what poor is unless you were poor. I'm always scared of actually being poor again. And money's not my God, but what I'm saying is I want to be all right. I want my kids to be all right. So I'll always work. I'll always and poor doesn't just have to be financial. And I mean spiritually. I just want to be happy. I want to be in a happy environment. So that's my drive, socially, domestically, is the fear of I know what dark days are. I've been dark, I've been skint, and I don't want that to pass on to the next generation of my family. So no matter what my kids think of me, when I'm long gone, they'll always know, you know what, my dad, he's all right, Joker, he was all right, my dad. This boxing was a stepping stone in my life, what I achieved. It wasn't my life. I didn't measure myself by it, and everything I achieved in it. I'm like everybody else. I'm a fanboy. I'm like, shit, I can't believe I did that. But the fear of actually I've actually, I think it's probably a regression of what you think when you was younger. Little things scared me when I was younger. When I heard mum and dad like, they didn't have any money to pay the insurance man, or Ken next door, he had some chickens in his back garden. Easter was coming up. Mum asked him for a chicken for Easter. He was going away. She went to work. Ken came round, gave us a live chicken. And so she thought my man had cut it up and skin it up and we'd have the chicken. He gave us a live chicken. We were playing with this chicken around the house, chicken shit everywhere around the house. It's that skint we are. Mum's giving him the last couple of pounds she's got for us to eat at Easter. She came home, saw chicken feathers and shit all over the place in the house because we were playing with Charlie, we called him. And she's like, what is this? And so we went, Ken's brought it round. So we went round to Ken's house, banging on the door. They'd gone away for the Easter weekend. So now we're playing with our Easter dinner. And so Mum's got to kill it. Went downstairs into the kitchen, tied a piece of rope, string to his leg, tied a string to the kitchen chair. We were on the stairs, chopped his head off. No! I hear you, Mum, I hear you. We ate that chicken good though, but we were skinned. And I just think, and listen, I'm quite sure there's people that are in worse situations. You know, before we finished, we were that skinned. At one point, my mum worked in a mental hospital up the road. It was Christmas. And some of the toys, what the kids played with there, that they'd cast aside, that might have been broken or dirty, Mum, I think she nicked them, wiped them down, put them in a black bin bag, and brought them down. So Christmas Day, we got up, Mum's at work. She's finished at about 2 o'clock, I think it was. So Christmas Day, our Christmas hadn't started yet. But Christmas Day, Mum comes in with a black bag. These are our presents. I just walked in with a black bag. I got like a toy car with a man in it. You put batteries in it. I got a packet of Bourbon biscuits and a Boney M record. My sister got some drafts. We got all them we got the broke down toys from the hospital. It was a mental hospital. My mum worked at, and we kind of figured it out, and that. So I look back at them times. I think, Mum, you know what? I gotta give it you. But I just think you've got to just change the path and generational curses of your family. So what drives me? What drives me is I want to provide for those I love. I want to make sure those I love are proud of me. I want to make sure those I love have aspirations. They strive for bigger and better than what I've given them. And that's what's important to me.
Well, Johnny, appreciate your time. I wasn't expecting this today at all, to be honest with you. I've been interviewing you for 12 years now, and probably apart from maybe 1, 2 of those stories, I had no clue about. So it was, it's good because, like I said, we just and people see you on IFL and we fuck about and we sort of see that side of you more so than anything else. But behind all that, obviously, that's the whole point of me doing this podcast is to get these kind of stories.
I got to give it you because when I sort of won about Eddie, I actually thought I actually liked it because you saw a different side to him. I knew Eddie when he was 10 years old. When I boxed for the European title in Germany, his dad brought him over in the corner, and his dad was in the corner with Brendan, Harold Graham, and Barry Hearn. And a little 10, 11-year-old Barney's walking him out doing the Zeke Kyle march we're in southern Germany. He's like, fuck's sake, behave yourself, son. And he was a real cocky little kid then. And I'd not seen Eddie for years later. And then he came into Sky when we were doing ringside. And I'm like, are you Eddie? He's a proper, tall, handsome fella. So when I saw what the show you'd done with Eddie, I actually thought, you know what, great idea. I think it's great. You're getting people to know a different side.
The same people I interview week in, week out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's boxing. That's what we're into. But I think everybody's human. I don't know what people will get from this, but I do know that they've got to understand. I'm not an alien, man. I'm just like everybody else.
This has been me, KUGAN CASSIUS, with Johnny Nelson, or Johnny Smith, whichever one you want. For the Raw Fight Within podcast, make sure you comment, like and subscribe, and we will see you next week. We are out.
I'm gonna share something with you. That might put me in a very negative light. Yeah.
Relationships are not my forte.
See if someone grabbed up my wife for saying completely different ballgame.
I'll walk away from it, and this has been like a therapy session.